All right. Hello, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. My name is Amy Wolkowinski. I'm the chair of the Flagstaff Sustainability Commission, and I'm so excited about our meeting today. I'd like to welcome Council Member Austin Aslin. The Chief Sustainability Officer of NAU is joining us today, Eric Nielsen, and we have a great selection of panelists to talk to us about bear-free riding and what's being done in their communities. So really excited about today's meeting. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll get started with our roll call. Commissioner Wolkowinski, chair here, or Amy Wolkowinski here. A lot of words to read. Vice Chair Mary Metzger here. Commissioner Cameron Carlson here. Commissioner Kunkel. She did tell me she's running late. She will be here. Commissioner Lammy here. And Commissioner Skurlock here. Thank you. And Commissioner Metzger, will you please read our land acknowledgement?
The Sustainability Commission humbly acknowledges the ancestral homeland of this area's indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by native descendants, border mountains sacred to indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place as home.
Thank you. All right. At this time, we're going to move on to public comment. Any member of the public may address the commission on any subject within their jurisdiction that is not scheduled before the commission today. Due to open meeting laws, the commission cannot discuss or act on items presented during this portion of the agenda. Either online or in person, do we have any public comment? Yes, Eric Nielsen.
I just wanted to introduce myself as NAU's Chief Sustainability Officer. I know some of you, and just to bring to your attention, this is just something that is starting to process the NAU as part of our decarbonization plan, looking at potential biomass power plant on campus, and we're just starting a process with consultants. And within the university, at least some people, there's concerns about, what if we had, so you guys are familiar with the biomass bottleneck, and we would try to be a part of the solution to that. As the one economic way of using biomass is to just make heat out of it. But there's concern about public perception, logging trucks coming up Lake Mary and John Wesley Powell and down Lone Tree on the campus. So I just want to give you guys a heads up. We're not going to, we're 18 months away from probably a decision, looking at feasibility, engineering, et cetera. But it's very relevant, I think, to the work of the Sustainability Commission, and as advocates in the community, let you know that NAU is very seriously looking at biomass as a solution, and the other solution we're looking at is ground source heat pumps. So done drilling on campus, we know about our geology. Our geology in Flagstaff is actually quite good, for much better than like average rock dirt in terms of heat transfer for geothermal. So anyway, we're looking at both of those options, kind of technology agnostic, but I feel like if we could help the forest resiliency and climate challenge, if they're kind of equal, that should be the one that we go with. So just that process is happening, and we're taking it very seriously. And we will, if we do go down that path, we will want to build a lot of public support, which I think this community would support, bringing that biomass into town to dispose of it.
You said if they're equal, which ones preferred?
Well, we're the lumberjacks. That's what I always come up. I think we get our carbon neutrality goal, but we also get forest resilience and support the local logging economy and restoration economy. And so I think we have a broader impact. From an engineering perspective, from a techno-economic perspective, the engineers would all say, drill some holes in the ground. That's the easy solution. May not be the right solution. So
Thank you. And yeah, we appreciate updates along the way. Okay, our next agenda item is the approval of minutes from last month's meeting. Commissioners, is there any feedback, changes, et cetera?
I'm not sure we started as early as it was described. in the minute. Perhaps we should address that, maybe amend it, 4:30.
Would you like to challenge that, Commissioner Metzger, or,
No, I don't want to ruffle any feathers.
well,
I move we accept the minutes.
okay, I say second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on to our business. As I said earlier, we have 3 representatives of municipal transportation from our hometown here, Flagstaff, and from Missoula, Montana, and from Kansas City. So I'd like to start by inviting, oh, wait, I'm sorry.
I have a really quick.
Yes, I'm so excited to talk about this that I skipped the actual first business item. Diane,
Yeah.
our sustainability specialist, is going to share with us some information about commission appointments.
Yes, so real quick, you noticed there's only 6 names on our agenda. That's for a very exciting reason. Elijah actually accepted a position with the city. So he is working in water services now, so he's no longer eligible to serve on the commission. And then second announcement on positions.
Sorry, I'm late. This is my announcement. This is gonna be my last meeting, this commission meeting. I will come next month to the discovery stroll, but this is my 6 years. I've done 6 full years on the commission as of this meeting. So it's been a really exciting 6 years. And I'm so happy to have been here.
So you're retiring, is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I am.
So we have those 2 vacancies, and then Chair Volkowinski and Commissioner Skurlock are also both up for renewal. So at next Tuesday's council meeting, we actually have 4 member positions to fill. We did receive 5 applications, so we will be filling all 4 spots next Tuesday. And then quick update on the ordinance that was, our city management and council are going to be looking at all ordinances and all commissions across the board. So we have been asked by the clerk's office to hold off on putting forward the new ordinance with its changes until we're given guidance on how all commissions are going to be moving forward with ordinance revisions. So that's it. Okay, now we can
Really
move
ready for that when it happens.
Yeah, we will be. Okay, now we're ready.
Okay, and before we move on, I do just want to say to Commissioner Conkle, thank you so much for your service over the 6 years, and she is by far the longest standing member of this commission right now, and your input and like institutional knowledge of what's gone on here and gone into previous decisions has been really valuable, and I'm sorry we're gonna lose it, but I'm really happy for you. I know you have a lot going on.
Yeah, I did take the second job, so.
Yes.
Oh, bless your heart.
Doing too many things.
Retiring, you're going to work more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. It's been so great to get to know everybody. Maybe I'll come back and give a public comment one day.
Oh, I can't wait.
That's great. Yeah, I can't wait.
Okay, now on to our transportation discussion. I'd like to start by welcoming Heather Dumoulin, did I say that right? Who is the CEO and general manager of our local mountain line.
Great. I have a presentation. Yeah, you can pick up right here.
Are we gonna be on the screen?
Yes.
Get my screen glasses out.
I leave my desk and I'm swapping glasses.
Okay, there. Oh, great.
So as mentioned, I'm Heather Donlin. I do serve as the CEO and general manager for the Mountain Line Transit Program here, funded by the city of Flagstaff and many of our other partners. Northern Arizona University. And I'm glad to be here to talk a little bit about where we're at as an agency and looking at free fare and how it can or can't be implemented within our transit program, why we would or wouldn't recommend that. I want to be very fair about that as well. So what I really did was provide and bring today slides that we shared with our board of directors in 2023 when our board made a distinct decision around funding. Because I really felt like you needed to understand what has already been publicly presented. It does go through our reasoning around that. And all of this conversation led up to a ballot initiative in November of 2024. And it's important to understand how the free fare conversation and that ballot initiative talk to each other. I did forget, this is Jackie Leonard. She is our Deputy General Manager and very engaged in policy and fare setting. So at the time of this, it was June in 2023. It was item number 6. If you'd like to ever go out to our public website and see the staff report presentations, they are all there. These are the slides from that presentation. So we asked the board at the time in June to delay implementation of free fare and related work plan items because we had been talking about how do we look at free fare? How do we consider free fare? What might it look like? And we asked them to delay that until spring of 2025. So I'm going to go through that update as well. There are many perceived benefits to going fare free. We know this in the industry. We hear it from our transit peers all the time. We ourselves have done the research, right? It's a method to expand equitable access to public transit. It's a means to rebuild transit ridership. That's one of the headlines we all see as the system goes fare free and they, boom, have all this ridership. And it's a key measure to reducing household transportation costs. We know that transit is attached to that cost of ownership in a car. If you can ditch your car, then your transportation cost goes up. And especially important in Flagstaff, if you can ditch your car, it might change how much housing you can afford in our community. If I go too fast, just let me know. So benefits, as we reviewed with our board, really is that transit is a public service or utility, and therefore maybe it should be free, just like roads are free. Technically, they're not free, you pay for it, right? But it does feel like you can get in your car and drive down the street without paying a fee to do that. There's no gate, there's no toll. But if you want to get on a bus to go to the grocery store, you have to pay a fee to do that. So the alignment of roads are free, transit should be free. There's an opportunity to reduce conflict between rider and drivers over fares. Fares is one of the #1 conflicts between the rider and the driver. And there is an increase in escalation of conflicts and assaults on transit drivers. So this is a big point of discussion. In many systems, allowing free fare improves route timing and performance. So if the bus doesn't have to wait for everyone who's standing outside the bus to get on and pay a fare, it can move faster. You can put everybody through both doors at the same time. You can then move along. That's called dwell time. When you see a bus standing down at a bus stop, dwell time impacts ridership. It also, impacts the route timing. And one thing we've seen in other systems is some systems have cut their dwell time so much that they can put another bus on that route, increase the frequency without really increasing the cost because they've cut that dwell time. And then reducing the cost of fare collection. You can probably Google fare collection and you'll see everything from $500,000 it costs to collect fares to, well, we're probably the lowest, so I won't put us in that boat, but for us, what's on here is what we pay. We have a part-time staff person that basically removes the cash and coin from the fare box. And then we have equipment and media. Our fare boxes, if you have never been on a bus, is a drop cash system. So it is a little bit of the honor system. A driver can see what you dropped, but if you dropped a handful of washers and they sound like quarters, we probably aren't going to know that. So we don't have expensive boxes that validate the cash. So that makes our collection pretty inexpensive. And then we do pay banking and transportation fees. So we have cash delivery service that picks up our cash, takes it to the bank processes the deposits. So that's just us. But without fares, you can reduce all of those costs. And then, of course, removing the barrier to transit eliminates if we can eliminate the concern about how much do I pay, how do I pay, does it encourage people to use transit? So what are the concerns? The first one is perception of the public. There is a large perception that people value what they pay for. And if you now are free, is it not valuable? Not saying it's right or wrong. Increase of riders that are using transit as shelter. This is a problem in our community. It's a problem across all transit systems where we call them riders without destination. If you get on the bus to go to the grocery store, you have a destination. We have a fair amount of people that ride the bus to have protection from the cold, protection from the heat, quite honestly, to socialize. The same group of people will get on, socialize across town. And if there's no fare to prevent them from doing that, we risk that could increase. Bus capacity, is there enough capacity for increased demand with the current schedule? Could we have enough people take advantage of this that now we have to put more buses on the route? And that's an expense we don't anticipate. While we save staff time on counting and collecting fares, most systems are putting more staff on the vehicles to help with other things that are now happening as behavior problems on the vehicles. So that might be a trade-off. And the big one for us, it's in red on purpose, is if we're asking the voters to extend the transit tax, what message does it send that we're also doing fare free? That became a very important part of our conversation. Ultimately, staff recommended that we seek and secure funding to expand our transit programs. To give you an idea of Mountain Line's transit programs, I don't want to assume any of you know what we do or don't do. At the time that we were looking at the transit tax, we still had one route in this community that the bus only went by those bus stops every 60 minutes. Most of our other routes, it's at least 30 minutes. So if you miss that bus, you have to wait 30 minutes for the next bus. So the idea was, instead of offsetting fares, because right, if I don't have fares, that's a loss of revenues that I use for the transit program, instead focus on securing the funding needed to expand our programs, increase our frequency, be available to go to more places, have better bus stop infrastructure. So this was our recommendation in June. One of the things we told the board, and we have now implemented mostly, is we've expanded our reduced fare program. So trying to address the equity and the equitable access to transit, Mountain Line has had a regular fare and a reduced fare. Federal government requires us to have a reduced fare that gives 50% fare to anyone with a Medicare card. Essentially, if you're eligible for Medicare, you get 50% off your fare. The federal requirement. Do I have to bring my card with me? You do. Okay. We, Mountain Line, since I started with the system in 2002, we've actually offered that same reduced fare to students, to seniors, and to people with disabilities. Now, people with disabilities have to come in and file an application. It's mostly because they don't have an identification card, and so that allows us to manage and get identification cards. In June of 23, we committed to expanding that to low-income individuals, veterans, and active service members. We probably about 9 months later rolled out veterans and active service members because those were pretty easy to roll out. Low income, we struggled with a bit because we didn't want to be in position as the transit provider saying you do or don't qualify for low income. So we had to find the right partner to assist us. And we're working now with Coconino County. So they're helping process and notify us through a form, right?
We are going to be rolling it out. It's not
Rolling
We're
it
still
out.
finalizing program details.
So they will, through their different mechanisms of funding and managing low-income programs, and I want to be clear, we're talking everything, WIC, food stamps, housing assistance, utility assistance. We're not asking too many questions. You can qualify, you'll get an identification card and be able to access reduced fare. Reduced fare is available to cash one-way, monthly passes, and day passes. So you can buy any of those mechanisms. Mountain Line does already have a program where we work with any human service agency from government to nonprofit to sell them half-price pass products that they then manage through their case management systems for individuals in the community. So we've been asked a lot of times, well, if you have a large population of unhoused people on your bus, how are they getting there? Well, they're getting passes through these various human service agencies, and they are using it to be on the vehicle. So where are we at today? So we committed to our board, we would revisit that in spring of 2025. So we did during the budget setting process last April, confirm that we needed to stay this path of not free fare now. And so they reaffirmed that. We have focused on implementing new service improvements and then all those reduced fare options. So that one route that was 60 minutes, in July of 2025, it went to 30 minutes. So all of our routes have 30 minutes or better. In July coming, yes, we have some. I want to make sure I didn't say that out loud.
Probably August 2nd.
And this is actually was heard by our board. just last month, we Route 66 and Route 3 are going to 20-minute frequency. And I know that sounds like nothing, but it is a game changer.
Mhm.
When Route 2 years ago went from 30 to 20, we saw almost a 38% increase in ridership just in the first 3 months. During COVID and during driver shortages, Route 2 was reduced in service. We lost a lot of ridership. And the minute we went back to 20 minutes, it started returning. As a person who rides Route 2, it will wait 20 minutes. It will not wait 30. And most of the time it's because I can walk that distance in the 30 minutes,
Oh,
to
there you
be
go.
quite honest. So it is a game changer, and we know that because the route that serves NAU campus is 8 minutes. Nobody ever waits for a bus on campus. They don't even read a map. They don't use an application. And it's half of our ridership on campus. Half of Flagstaff's transit ridership comes from that campus route. We know frequency changes behavior. So it reiterates what we said to our board in June of 2023, which is fund improvements to the program instead of offsetting the fares.
A quick question on that. It's also fare free for students, though, so it's worth noting. that
It is, and I was going to talk about
Yeah.
that next.
I'm like, surely that's.
So the agreement that we developed with Northern Arizona University when we implemented Route 10 in 2011, fall of 2011 is when we implemented that Route 10 service. NAU paid 50% of what it cost to operate the route. They did that in lieu of fares on that route. So NAU students do have free fare access. So yes, it does contribute. You don't have to think about paying a fare to get on the bus.
Just like free roads.
Like
Think
free
about it,
roads, I
yeah.
understand, yes. But we also know, because we experienced this when we had 10-minute frequency, instead of 8-minute frequency, we were losing ridership. We got back to 8-minute frequency, which tells us it's not just fares that changes behavior. If we went fare free, because it's always what we get asked, how much would that cost the system? It's roughly $1.4 million a year. That includes the NAU service agreement, because we don't know if NAU would continue to offer that contribution. Because remember, we have in lieu of fares in our agreement, so it puts that funding at risk as well. It costs us less than $100,000 to collect fares. So all those fees I just talked about, less than $100,000. We have a tap card system. The cost of that is roughly $40,000 a year. A part-time person, roughly $40,000 a year, and the banking fees around 20.
What is the tax card system? I don't understand. Is it like?
You know
I
how
can use
you
my
hold
credit card?
we don't take credit cards. So we have a separate
Do they
system,
go get
but it
that
works the
pass?
same way as a
Have
credit
little,
card.
The
Yeah.
pass.
Oh,
You
yes.
get the pass, okay. I
Yes.
can go get the darn pass, I guess.
You can also
Um,
buy, a fare on an app as well. You don't have to go get a pass.
That's true too. I'm happy to show you out.
Get that.
We do know that payment of fares is a barrier to use of transit by so many. But we can continue to say, if you don't have frequent service, if you don't have good access to service, it doesn't matter if your system is free or not. It's still a safety net service. If we really want to change behavior and drive behavior, then we should collect the fares, use the transit tax to expand. That said, our board will be looking at free fare every year as part of the budget setting process. We've made that commitment several times. So each year in April or May of every year, we look at our fund balance, we look at our projected revenues. The City of Flagstaff's transit tax is part of those projected revenues to determine if we took fares out, what does it do to that projected revenue? So if you haven't answered any questions, but I really wanted to cover the history of where we are, how the decision was made, and what our next steps are. As we aren't fare free, we can't really talk about the true application of it. And that's why we asked if Jordan from Missoula, who is, by the way, Mountain Line in Missoula, Montana, and Tyler from Kansas City could join, because both of them actually have systems that have experienced fare free, to give you more of that boots on the ground experience with it. So with that, I think we're doing questions at the end, right?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Perfect.
Yep.
Here's a
Yeah. Jordan, would you like to share your perspective with us, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you all hear me okay?
Jordan from Montana.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone. I'm Jordan Hess. I'm the CEO and General Manager of Mountain Line North, I guess we could say. There's 3 mountain lines, and we're in good company with you all. We compare notes with Heather and Jackie all the time, and we're always trading ideas, and so we're really happy to be able to present to you today. I'll attempt to share my screen and see if it comes through okay, if that works. Is that coming through yet?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm gonna, I'll just give a really brief overview on our organization, just so that you can kind of maybe compare and contrast a bit with the Flagstaff Mountain Line. Obviously a real similar mission. Our mission is to connect Missoulians to the community, connect people to opportunity. We started in the late 70s. We were formed by the voters in 1976. And we kind of hummed along as a pretty typical transit system for the first several decades of our operation. In 2008, the city of Missoula adopted what became known as a focus inward growth policy, and we really started focusing very deliberately on infill development and on mode split and on driving folks to transit. And that really started to pick up steam in 2012 when we added our first 15-minute routes, or our first 15-minute route, really. So that route served the university. Before that, really everything was hourly, and we really started to focus on increasing frequency and really to the impacts that Heather was just speaking to drive ridership. We had a mill levy increase, our first increase in our property taxes that was approved by the voters since our inception in 2013, and we began our zero fare program in 2015. And I'll come back to that in more detail. We went back to the voters in 2020 and got another funding increase, and that enabled us to launch 7-day-a-week service. So we are 7 days a week, 361 days a year. We take 4 holidays off, and we operate Sunday service on a variety of our holidays, and have really had a period of really rapid growth. We have 12 fixed routes throughout the valley. And Missoula's, a fairly compact valley, so our service area is pretty limited. But we do serve most, but not all, of the city limits of the city of Missoula and some of the surrounding county. We also operate, of course, ADA paratransit service. We have a door-to-door shuttle van that's available to seniors, and a couple other specialty services. Just a little snapshot of our route network. We again, just fairly compact. All of our routes operate at most on an hour cycle time. Our longest routes take an hour to go from our downtown transfer center back out to the end of the line and back in. We have now 2 15-minute routes that operate on a basically a bidirectional loop. So during peak service, or really from opening until early evening on weekdays, we've got 8 buses, 4 going each direction on that Route 1 and 2 loop, and we've got 22 buses in service at our peak service level. I think budget-wise and service characteristic-wise, I think we're remarkably similar to you all. I think our budget is within $1 million of each other, and I mean we just have a lot of similarities in terms of staffing levels and just kind of if you go through the organizations, we've got more in common. I mean, it just surprises me how much we have in common. And I don't know if my head's the size of a billboard in your room there or what, but I hope not. But I also wanted to say, feel free to interrupt me with any questions, or I can. But if I can't see you all that well, so I'll just keep going. But feel free to jump in if there are questions. Okay.
What is the population of Missoula? What is
The urbanized area is around 120,000. The city itself is just shy of 80,000.
Thank you.
We have a population, the Bitterroot Valley to the south of us. So there's Hamilton and a few communities that are geographically distinct and population and employment in their own right, but a lot of commuting between the Bitterroot Valley and Missoula. So our Zero Fare program started as a demonstration project. It was in 2015, and we started that as a 3-year pilot. And the way that we approached it was we knew that the fare box recovery was an important part of our revenue stream. And so we actually sought private sponsorship. So the first thing we did was we went out to all of our major employer pass programs. So the university was paying for a UPass program where university affiliates would ride the system for free. And that was citywide or system-wide. So it wasn't just a trip to the campus, and it wasn't the university subsidized a full UPass program for all affiliates. So there was no cost to the user at all. The city and the county did the same for their employees. And the Downtown Association also had a program where any employee of a business member of the Downtown Association had a pass that was paid for by the association. So we had a significant number of major employer pass programs. And the very first thing we did was we went to all of those providers and we said, or all of those pass partners, and we said, we really want to go to Zero Fare. It's going to take you all continuing your investment and in some cases voluntarily increasing your investment. And we got all of those partners to agree to continue to pay for their pass programs for 3 years. And then we went out to other community partners, other businesses. We had an advertising trade with our newspaper. We had a number of in-kind trades. But we ended up ultimately at the end of the Zero Fare pilot program having 40 Zero Fare partners who contributed essentially the revenue that the fare box used to bring in. And we immediately saw about a 40% increase in ridership, and that was almost overnight. That did coincide with the launch of our second 15-minute route, and so obviously some of that was frequency driven, and some of it was Zero Fare driven. But it was, the impact on ridership was immediate and pretty remarkable. And in 2020, we went back to the voters, and part of our ballot question in 2020 was whether or not the voters supported sustaining the Zero Fare program as part of the property tax levy. And that measure passed. There was also, like I mentioned earlier, there was also the Sunday service and some other service enhancements. We are a community that has a lot of air quality issues, and part of our measure was support for continuing to electrify our fleet. So it was a package deal, and the Zero Fare program was part of that package. The voters approved that measure just shy of 60-40. It was 59 and change percent voting in favor of that measure, and that essentially solidified our Zero Fare program as a permanent program of sorts. So we don't have fare boxes in our buses anymore. We've pulled them out. We've gotten rid of the safe and all of the cash handling equipment within our agency. We had a little bit higher tech fare boxes that would count and validate funds, and those fare boxes are, gosh, I want to say they're probably around 30 grand a piece now, or more even. And so the capital outlay per bus for us, that was a significant driver of cost savings. Heather talked a lot about the various pros and cons of Zero Fare, so I won't necessarily go into those, but I will say we've seen them. Public transportation is remarkably safe, but one of the biggest threats or biggest risks are operator assaults, and operator assaults are almost always fare disputes. So removing the fare removes the fare dispute. We did also see the reduction in our dwell time. We're able to cover more ground more quickly because we're not staying in one place collecting fares. The cons, however, we saw a significant increase in the non-destination riders, and I would say this has been exacerbated, particularly just as we have more people in crisis, whether it's mental health crisis or people experiencing homelessness, or what the Zero Fare program has done is it's exposed other problems, other societal problems within the community, and it has like put those front and center on transit. Heather and I were talking last week in preparation for this, and I told her a story that was when we first went Zero Fare, we started noticing that we had homeless school children, just school-age children, riding the bus, and they were riding to use the Wi-Fi. And so, critics in the community would say this is terrible. The Zero Fare is bringing out the worst, and it's like, no, this is exposing that we have children who don't have basic needs met, who are accessing Wi-Fi on the bus because that's the only alternative they have. And so it's done a lot of things like that where it's exposed challenges and really, really deep, unsettling challenges in our community, and surface those on the transit system. And I guess, so a couple of things, 11 years in, I would say, would I do it again is probably the question and I was, I wasn't at the agency when I was involved in local government, but I wasn't at the agency when the demonstration project started. I would say that so many things have changed in that 11-year period that and we can't put that genie back in that bottle. I'm not saying we want to. I think Zero Fare I think it works really well for us, but it would be very difficult for us to go back to charging fares because of how because of the infrastructure that we no longer have, because of the rider expectation. I would be very worried about driver safety, where we've created a decade-long expectation of there not being a fare, and reinstating a fare would be very very challenging for us in that regard. Fare technology, fare collection technology, contactless payments, various types of fare capping or fare subsidies for various user groups are like the technology is just night and day different than it was those 10 years ago. So I would encourage any agency considering Zero Fare to really take a hard look at, are there ways to accomplish our equity goals, and are there ways to reduce our cash handling that also serve the same function. Zero Fare is maybe a program that maybe doesn't make as much sense as it did some years ago. I think, like I said, for us, it's been a great success, but I would encourage you to take a really hard look at some of the potential pitfalls of it. And one of them, so I've got a couple. I know I'm running a little long here, so I'll wrap up. But this is our ridership over the last 10 years. This does not show the transition to Zero Fare. So you'll see fairly flat before COVID, and then a pretty steady post-COVID recovery. But one thing to really consider is our paratransit utilization has increased at a rate that is much more rapid than other communities across the U.S. So our paratransit, this is our 10-year paratransit ridership. And I think a big driver of this, and this is a pro and a con. So a pro here is that people who need access to paratransit to access opportunity have access to paratransit, and that is a really wonderful story. The other part of this story is that the fare barrier for paratransit is also, that's what this tells to. That's the story that this chart tells, in my opinion, is that the paratransit fare is federally capped at 2 times the fixed route fare. 2 times 0 is 0. And so our ridership has increased dramatically on paratransit, and we're struggling to meet that demand. We have, paratransit is, the cost per ride never really goes down. The more people you have on a fixed route bus, the cost per ride goes down. The more paratransit trips you give, the cost per ride just stays flat. And so our paratransit costs, we're breaking records, month after month of number of paratransit trips completed, number of vehicles needed. I mean, we're just always blowing past previous records on paratransit, and we're getting to the point where it's becoming really challenging to resource that appropriately. So, I mean, it's been an overwhelmingly positive experience for us, but I really would say that think long and hard about some of the potential challenges and pitfalls before moving forward. That'd be my recommendation.
Commissioner Metzger? In a former life, I worked in schools and school bus experiences and things that go along with school buses. My question to you is, when you went to free access, and there's so many benefits of it, it's just remarkable. But what did it do relative to the maintenance of the physical aspects of the buses themselves? Did you find that you were having to deal with graffitis or other kinds of things more, and it cost more? Was there anything detrimental about it? That's what my question.
Not really from a maintenance standpoint. I would say it was kind of a wash where we were no longer maintaining the fare equipment. And we had our fare box system was, it had a proprietary safe, and then each individual fare box is basically a mini safe, and then there's a process to empty that into a larger collection safe, and so I would say that that to the extent that we had any other maintenance related issues, they were offset by other assets that we were no longer maintaining.
Use it to repair the seats and things of that sort because you didn't have to buy a box. Okay.
Yeah, we've spec'd our buses a lot differently over the last couple of orders. We've moved to much more durable upholstery on our seat, or actually away from upholstered seats, and we've done a lot of things to really reduce the maintenance. And so I'd say it's kind of been a wash.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Eslin.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. Game out for me, to the best of your ability to sort of think this through. How difficult would it be to wean the community off of free fares if you were to change course?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I don't know that I have a great answer. I think one of the benefits of zero fare is, or one of the benefits earlier on was, we were a cash system, and then we had various fare media that were, so you could purchase a monthly pass, and some of those, at the low tech end, they were punch cards, and then there were like magnetic stripe cards, and our university student ID cards that they would read the magnetic stripe. I would say the convenience factor, it used to be that, who had 85 cents in exact change? Like it used to be that the convenience of fare free was really, from an equity standpoint, it was maybe $1 fare was a true economic barrier for someone. From a convenience standpoint, maybe your university faculty member doesn't have loose coins in their pocket, and so it was kind of an equalizer in that sense, where it was easy for anyone to use, whether or not it was an equity issue or a convenience issue. I think now with contactless fare payments, or even tap credit cards being accepted as fare media in a lot of locations, I think that the convenience factor is dramatically changed. I think the part that would be the most difficult, just kind of gaming, and I'm thinking out loud here, but the part that would be most difficult to move away from is there's a small segment of our ridership that causes the greatest number of just any kind of challenges, behavioral challenges, and I think that there is a very small portion of our ridership that would just create challenges. and create an abusive environment or be really problematic. That's the area that I see being the most difficult.
Commissioner Lammy. and then
On
Commissioner
that
Kunkel.
line, I mean, what of your increase in ridership, how much of it was people who chose the bus as an alternative versus the destinationless riders?
We've got some pretty good policies in place for non-destination riders. So we have policies that if you're on the bus for a full rotation, essentially, the driver will question what your destination is, and so I think the critics will say that the bus has become a mobile shelter, and that's not really been our problem. I mean, I do think that one thing that has happened is that I would say riders become, occasional riders become more frequent riders, and we don't have good data on this just because we've been at it for so long, and we weren't collecting this data beforehand. But I would suspect that our trip length got shorter. So someone might get on, they might have walked 6 blocks, and now they'll get on and ride for 3 stops, and that cost benefit of paying the fare. So I think there's probably a greater portion of trips that are shorter trips, and that's probably a big driver of the ridership.
Commissioner Conkle?
I don't know where the microphone is for me to, okay. I am interested most in the comment that you made about the free fares increasing exposing the kind of systematic problems within the community of Missoula. And I'm wondering, when that was happening, what opportunities were available for the city to address those problems? Like, did it help? Hey, we exposed this problem and now we can go to city council and we can talk about it. Like, what problems were then solved because of seeing those problems come to light?
Yeah, it's a great question, Commissioner, and I don't know. Well, so I don't think we solve anything in local government. I think we mitigate for, we're mitigating for a global climate crisis, and we're mitigating for a global, an American West housing crisis, and so I feel like it was an awareness. There was an awareness component, and there was. But those issues were also percolating up in other places. So we had a dramatic increase in people living unsheltered in our community, and just like a lot of the West, and we had I would say that the issue that I mentioned of the children using the Wi-Fi, you go to the public library and it's that is also that's probably actually Exhibit A of that same problem. So I don't know that we necessarily added to, like, really meaningfully to the community dialogue in that way, but it was really kind of shocking, I guess, or like it definitely it pulled us out of just sort of driving buses in circles, and it really shone a spotlight on this is a community issue. I don't feel like I answered your question very well.
That's okay. Yeah, I think you did.
Okay, do you have a question as well?
No, I just wanted to note that Tyler is in Kansas City.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And we
that-
could let
yes,
him
this is-
present.
That's true.
I know it's not
don't
part of your
share.
questions, but we really appreciate that he was willing to participate, and I just want to draw your.
Commissioner Metzger, can you?
No, that's
hold
all
your
right. Yes,
question?
please. Yes,
Okay, let's turn it over to Tyler. Thank you so much for your patience. Tyler.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
is From the Kansas City Area Transportation Authority.
Yeah,
Welcome.
good evening. Good evening, commissioners. And thank you for inviting me to be here. Happy to talk to you all about our free fare experience. We are not Mountain Line, so I apologize for not being part of the cool kids club. We are the Kansas City Area Transportation Authority. We're kind of a weird place, mostly because we are one of like 3 properties in the United States that are based off this authority model that's actually approved by Congress. So we actually formed in 1965. Currently, we're 230 buses. We covered almost 500 square miles. We're a $130 million organization per year. We have over 13 million rides per year. We offer services for a variety of solutions. On the bus, we're local fixed route, express, Bus rapid transit, so that's that fast and frequent service that Heather was describing, coming every 15 to 20 minutes to really drive robust transportation services down key corridors. We do our ADA paratransit. We have a digital taxi voucher program that's targeted towards older adults and persons with disabilities. We have a microtransit solution that's targeted towards general public in various spots throughout the community. And we have Vanpool, so a commuter-based solution to help folks commute across the region from job point to trip origin. Population-wise, we're a very different community than Missoula and Flagstaff. We're about 2.2 million on the region. Our urban core is about 680,000. So we're a big city. We like to say we're a small major city compared to some of the players in the transit space. We've kind of become the poster child of free fare, and I don't know if that's really fair when you hear some of the great stuff that Jordan is doing in Missoula, and some of the folks I've met out in Carborough and Chapel Hill that have been doing this for 15, 20 years. We've been at it since COVID, right? That's how we first kind of flowed into this, and that's kind of our history into this. We had a bunch of variety fare-free programming in place, basically sponsorships. The AFL-CIO CIO union paid for veterans to be free. We had multiple employer and university pass programs where their employees or the students were able to ride for free, but they paid us through contracting. And then we had a variety of other solutions with what we call frontline organizations, we call an opportunity pass, so that we can make sure we're programming passes to those shelters and specialized organizations that really kind of hit the folks that are in the hardest parts of their lives. And those generated a good amount of our ridership. We did about 20% of our ridership through those programs. But we were collecting that revenue, right? When we went fare free in March of 2020, we lost all that revenue, all the partnerships, relationships we had. They quit coming in. We even were told by, we'll name the organization, by an organization that was paying into us to say, why would we pay for something that's free? And so we lost that revenue that came in, which would probably amount at about 2.5 million of our total fare revenue collection. And then we also lost the 8.8 million in direct cash revenue we were collecting. We had a relationship with the city that they were going to pay us to offset the fare revenue, the direct cash collected. They covered us about 4.8 million one time, and then they quit kind of paying an additional cost into us beyond the tax revenues collected. So we covered with our COVID funds to carry it forward until today, where we've now exhausted our COVID funds and find ourselves in a position of looking of returning to fare. Much like what Jordan was speaking to, fare technology is way better than what it was when we initially installed our 1999 Gen Fare Odyssey fare boxes, which were basically little ATMs. We're now going with a validator model with a mobile app overlay. It'll actually be cash off vehicle. So a lot of our retail network and local partners are actually going to set up like point of service locations to help us program the passes throughout the region. And we're looking at launching June 1st with a new fare. During the 6 years, though, we've learned a tremendous amount about being free fare. Some are good and some are challenging. One of the big things that is a challenge is that the revenues that we brought in, whether that was the partnerships or the money collected from the fares, is those dollars are incredibly flexible. Majority of the money I get from federal, state, or even local municipalities are strongly dedicated to serve X, Y, or Z. With these dollars, I can move them around. There's a lot of liquidity in them. So if we need matches to buy buses or something, we just grab cash, we can match. But that has now been gone for about 5 years, and we are actually going through a problem where we have an aging fleet because we're lacking our capital reserves to match those federal dollars to purchase vehicles. As you can see, we were not overly prepared going into free fare as Jordan in his town was. So we have found ourselves on the back foot trying to make up some lost ground on this. And that kind of speaks to that second point of, if this is something you ever decide to do in Flagstaff, make sure you do it earnestly and with intent. That's one of the key things I would always say. Do not do it haphazardly. Don't just jump into it. Plan it out and apply it. Make sure you understand how you're going to get this, how you're going to structure the revenues. Look for the sponsorships that Jordan spoke to. You need to have that liquidity, that revenue that allows you to be flexible when you need it. Things break, right? We had a boiler break and we had to find $3 million. Not an easy thing to do when you don't have a lot of liquidity in your money. The other part that we had was our security spending went up about 2.5 million a year. That's about a 5x increase what we were prior to being fare free. Now that's not all because, hey, things are free and then terrible things happened. America and most big cities such as ourselves were going through a fentanyl crisis. Our streets were ridden with it. And as Jordan kind of alluded to, what happened on the street was coming in and off of our bus freely. And the reason why that is that when you're fare free and it's not gated anymore, you can't deny a trip to anybody. It's now a civil rights violation. And so you don't want that letter from the Department of Justice that tells you you're no longer getting federal money. So you have to kind of change the way in which you interact with your society. And so we had more incidents of people that were experiencing mental illness or in the throes of a really bad high, fighting with themselves, arguing with others. And it wasn't that we had an increase in violent crime. We had a major increase in verbal incidents or confrontations where people felt uncomfortable, which led to the operator to either hit the silent alarm or radio supervisor or security to come intervene. And that's where we had to start paying for more security to spread ourselves out. Since we cover about 500 square miles, as you can imagine, it's not easy. Our security costs had to go up to spread out. It's a geographical challenge for us. The other part where we saw a massive cost increase with the paratransit. We went about $4 million a year. That's about a 33% increase over what we were previously. And it's much what Jordan said, since it was now free, folks were just calling in all the time, making reservations. We used to say on average, we did 4 trips a day per person. That was a regular rider for paratransit. We had folks taking up to 8 to 10 trips a day. I don't even know how you can schedule and take 8 to 10 trips a day when you have a 90-minute gap, but they were doing it. It was a real cost challenge for us at $73 per trip. A challenge that we lost there as well is that we used to collect Medicare. So people would call in a reserve and say, hey, I'm a Medicare recipient. My ride's free. Well, when it's already free, they don't feel the need to point that out to us. And so we lost about $400,000 to $450,000 per year that we collected back from Medicare on those trips. So that was a unique challenge that we started having trouble. We'd have our reservationists calling in every time somebody called in that we knew had previously been a Medicare saying like, are you still a Medicare recipient? And trying to remind them to give us their number so that we could try to bring those dollars back in to get those reimbursements. I think some of the good that we saw was definitely the ridership. Where a lot of people came out of COVID and could not recover their ridership. Most, I think on average was about 78% was recovery. We were at 100% by 23. We had surpassed our pre-COVID numbers. So we were able to close that gap. We knew that that was coming because we were allowing people to come in and off freely. And Jordan's right. We saw people that would just board for a block or two now, and they would just hop on and off, just like we saw on our key core routes. That's kind of how they rode, but they're doing that throughout our whole system. We did have a lot of loop riders, the folks who would come to the end of the line, and we'd have to ask them to get off, and they would just board the next bus. But that traditionally was like any community that has bus service. Really hot days, really cold days, rainy days where they're trying to stay out of the elements. So that's not really unnoticed. There was an interesting question from one of you commissioners about dealing with some of the unique challenges, whether that's maintenance. We actually had a major increase in bed bug incidents. We actually had to put a rider policy that no bed rolls could be brought onto the bus. That was one of the challenges that we had. We were having to pay probably upwards of monthly $400,000 a month for bed bug treatments, where they have to come and steam the buses at night so that we could get them to roll them out the next day. That became a real challenge. We had to change the way in which we had policies to address that. Yeah, I mean, I'm a real big proponent of never telling anybody how to spend your money. But my advice is when you do free fare, if that's something you want to consider, is always do it with intent and make sure it's focused and purposeful. If it's just haphazard as it kind of happened with us in COVID and we never went back to fare, it does create unnecessary growing pains. And that's kind of what we've been having to go through. With that, I mean, I didn't build a presentation, so I'm happy to help address any questions that I may have helped arise in your heads.
I'm sorry. I have a question, Tyler. I might have missed this, but you said, you transitioned to free fare during COVID and you lost all of your partnerships, you lost all that revenue. So how have you funded this program for all these years?
Yeah, we're a sizable
COVID
direct
money.
recipient of federal funds. The COVID money came in. We received over $120 million in COVID funds. And we put 90 million of the 120 towards backing the fair and supporting these increased costs.
Okay.
It was about a 20 million a year swing.
Question Metzger.
I'm assuming, since you are facing dramatic changes in your world, that you're doing research across the board of all the options and things you can pursue. Has anybody considered having some segments that are free travel and then other segments that are not free, so that you can kind of have a balance of, the university has the free cards. I was a community student, I had cards, but that there would be some routes that are specifically designed that say, okay, this is the, maybe it's your high metropolitan route or something like that. Have you looked at that as a concept, or is that something that people look at?
We have never looked at it as saying, let's make this route free per se, but we have worked with a CID back when we had a fair. There was a CID, the West 39th Street, which I call that that is the KC local. If you go to 39th Street in Kansas City, Missouri, that is quintessential Kansas City. Well, that CID actually paid into it so that anybody boarding stops within those, we did not collect fares. Because it was one of those kind of communities, much what Jordan spoke to, where people would get on and ride just 2 or 3 blocks. And they would ride 2 or 3 blocks. I always joke that there's people in the 39th Street neighborhood who've never left 39th Street. That's just like, that's who they are. And so in that community, they paid into it to support free fare for those stops. So we did not collect fare within that CID area.
So it's a possibility.
Is Kansas City kind of a historical transit city? I mean, have you guys always had it and it just expands and have a train and things like that as well?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I'm a huge history guy, so how much time do I got? I'm kidding. So I'll make it quick. We were the second largest streetcar city in the United States, only behind San Francisco up until 1963. GM bought out the streetcar system, tore out the rail, sold us buses. We're that story, poster story for how streetcar died. We are now bringing streetcar back. We've done a major extension, massive streetcar line, and we have 2 studies underway to look at potentially funding and adding 2 more east-west streetcar corridors. So we're looking at a lot about restoring rail back in our community. I'm also an urban planning graduate, so I can give you all the crazy history and stuff.
You got it all.
Commissioner Carlson.
Yeah, I've got a question for either or both of you guys. Do you have any stats on like the vehicle miles traveled and climate impacts from the switch to fare free and the increase in ridership?
I can kind of speak to, vehicle miles hasn't really changed. The only thing that, per route. So let's talk, because we've had service changes and that kind of modifies it, but nothing's gone up because of free fare or less because of free fare. The climate change angle, Kansas City is such a car culture. I think bus ridership makes up 3% of our total ridership in our community. And because of that, it wasn't enough to really shift. One of these things, I saw a great article from Iowa City, which is great because it's such a college community. And so I think in a college community is a really great opportunity to get folks, which is a captive audience, college students. You don't have as much money. You're starting to make cash for the first time, maybe. And that's a really good captive audience to get them out of vehicles. And I think you would see a net benefit there. But for Kansas City, it's just such a spread out geographically. A fun fact is we are the size of Los Angeles with 1/5 of the population. You're going to drive, unfortunately, here. Yeah, it's really hard to do transit in Kansas City. Jordan, how about yourself?
Yeah, I don't know that I have good data on that. Or if there is data on that, I don't know it. But I would say kind of similar to what Tyler was saying. We didn't, as far as transit vehicle, miles on transit vehicles, I don't think, like, service didn't really change, so there wouldn't have really been much impact there. I don't know what percentage of our trips, our added trips were replacing, a private vehicle trip, or I don't have great data there.
Right. Well,
Anecdotally,
thanks.
I would
Please go
say
ahead, Jordan.
we've lost our share of riders that are that are not transit dependent, I would say has gone down. And that's possibly a function of overall ridership increasing. It's possibly a function of some of the real or perceived behavior problems, maybe displacing riders that have a choice. But I would say our ridership has skewed toward being more transit dependent especially since COVID.
Well, we've got about 10 minutes left of time with our panelists, if, like, according to the agenda, if anybody has more questions. Yes, Commissioner Hall.
Similar to your question, I think you asked about different areas of the city having free fares. Have there been bus programs that do sliding scale for or pay what you can? And are there successes that help overcome some of the barriers that were talked about?
If I may, I think there are lots of systems that do sliding scale, not on pay what you can.
Okay.
But based on distance traveled, I think that's a very common model. You tap into the Washington Metro, and when you tap out, it calculates how far you traveled and charges you that fare accordingly. There are I know of that model most in rail, right? I don't know of any that are sliding scale and pay what you can. I think a lot of transit systems try to focus on how do they make fare systems that create opportunity for more accessible, equitable access, like what we're doing with low income, disability, children, seniors. And you heard both Jordan and Tyler talk about past programs. Flagstaff has a number of those too. NAU buys in lieu of, but we have, 5 employer programs here in town where the Flagstaff employees all get a bus pass. The city of Flagstaff contributes that. We actually have 3 residential units in town that, based on the number of beds in each unit, that unit gets that many bus passes for the residents. And that was done through the development agreements while that developer was developing.
The people who need like drive rides to their doctor or something like that.
No, it's primarily students.
Oh.
So there are a lot of, like, when the city is negotiating development agreements with, originally with a lot of the off-campus student housing, to encourage more of those residents to not be using their cars. So those developments are paying us for transit passes.
So those are just a couple of programs we have.
And one other thing just about the, like, choosing a line to be free, that would become an even bigger equity issue. So although Route 10 is free for students, there is a fare, there is a, in lieu of fare, so we are being paid for that. But if we were just to be like, we think that we would have high ridership if we made Route 7 free, well, that would become an equity issue in the eyes of the federal government. They would be big fans of that.
And I do think you see like.
You trigger Title VI.
That, you may see like a circulator route that serves a tourism district that's quote fare free, but the cost of that fare is being collected from somebody. Whether it's the district, the tourism bureau, something along those lines.
That's good. I don't know if it's a cautionary tale or just an experiential tale or what it is, but I was in Seattle and rode their little train. And you get on the train and it's an honor system. And what you do is there's a little sign that says, pay your $5. And I went up to pay my $5. Like 5 people sitting around going, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going to pay my $5. Oh, no, nobody pays that. Don't be ridiculous. And I thought, this seems like a free tram system, but probably the tourist group is what's paying for that.
Potentially.
Yeah.
I think.
It looked at me like I was an idiot because I was trying to pay this fare.
Well, and what we've seen in the last year, and I say we, the transit industry, we're seeing more and more focus on enforcement affairs. So we're a federally funded agency. So we're an authority, just like Missoula and Kansas. We operate separate from the city programs, et cetera. So we bring in our own federal money. The city matches those federal funds. That federal funding, it all comes with strings and requirements, right? And one of the things we're seeing more and more often in the federal government is, are you enforcing fares? Is your community paying their fair share of the transit program cost? In addition to, is your system safe? That's and we heard a little bit, Tyler talked about perception, right? How many riders, or Jordan, how many riders turned away from the system because they saw an increase in escalation of conflict on vehicles? But fares specifically, fare evasion, you can Google New York City and some of the pressure they got on improving their fare evasion strategies to reduce fare evasion. And that's actually what that's called. If fare is posted and you didn't pay it, it's called fare evasion.
I paid the $5, but everybody else did.
And there are a lot of cities and states that work cooperatively to pass laws to make that a felony, to make that a misdemeanor. And there is a focal point at the federal government level saying, we're going to keep giving you money, but you need to do your fair share, unintended, to enforce fares, to enforce policies, and to provide safe environments.
Christy, you were very interesting. Thank you so much.
I could talk all day. So
You just like,
Very
like
good.
Tyler.
Thank you so much. You guys were so interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, I really want to thank Heather and Jackie. Great to see you here today. And Tyler and Jordan for the history of our local mountain line and for sharing your experience and the things you've learned. It was super informative. And I'm really happy to know that this is something that is on the annual discussion board for our mountain line. And thank you for what you do for all the communities you serve.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good luck,
Yeah, thanks so
Kansas
much.
City.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm so sorry for Kansas
Plenty
City.
of space.
I had a couple more questions for like.
Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Are you one more question?
Oh, sure.
I mean, I had a couple more. I just didn't want to like.
One
keep
more
it-
question,
halfway
and
down
then
the
we
stairs.
and then we'll move on.
And I'm happy to follow up one-on-one or
Yeah.
back or whatever as well.
I guess I'm curious if you continue to decide to keep fares, how much does it cost to install, like credit card tapping machine? Because like, that's a big barrier. Like,
Yeah.
people have cash, like they need cash or an app. Like, how many tourists are gonna like download that?
Yes. So Mountain Line is we are in the process of procuring a new fare collection system right now. And our goal is actually, we don't want to take cash off board. There's a whole lot of reasons to allow cash on the bus.
Absolutely. People on the streets.
But the more you make convenient payment systems available, so we will be evaluating as we look at a new fare collection system, which we assume will be a new tap card system. The technical lingo is open payment. Can that fare collection payment accept credit cards? Can it be an open loop versus closed loop? One of the challenges 10 years ago when we considered this is the per transaction fees that banks collect. Our fare's $1.25. So $1.25 and you use your tap card and the bank took 30 cents.
Yeah.
So my fare went to 95 cents. So that's one consideration. A lot of that's changed with batching where they take all things and batch them at one time. So we are considering it. I don't know the answer to your question, but it is something we are going to be looking at because we do think it allows people to change behavior much more quickly. I know when I travel, if I have to find cash to pay for a bus fare, I'm in trouble.
And it is a big rollout. Like I was just at a conference and like, for instance, LA Metro is trying to roll out, which once again, rolling out in LA Metro is very different than rolling out in Mountain Line. They have to do it before the Olympics because they're going to be welcoming tourists from, and I mean, all of the destinations around the US that are hosting FIFA soccer World Cup this summer. It's you have international tourists and they are very used to open payment. And so they're definitely.
Have you ever considered just charging $1 instead of $1.25? Because I think if I could. put a buck
We
in-
have actually.
It's like that extra quarter is
yes.
such a pain.
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Yeah, I know Boston also rolled it out.
if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
So going back to the question of if we offer free fares, what are the voters going to think about that?
Yes.
Could you go through some of that thought process a little bit and where you guys landed on it?
So what we have said is that we need to be very careful that we don't take the transit tax and replace the fares because we told the voters we were going to use the transit tax to implement more service. And so then we get in a position of not fulfilling our promises to the voter. So we would need to be able to identify how we use other funding to offset that fare loss than the increased transit tax. So this is where the whole transit tax becomes interesting. If you were here in 2008, you'll remember there were 5 ballot questions. And that was really hard to manage for 10 years. But the one benefit it offered us is that we could distinctly say we paid for this using this money and this using this money. And if we had that system in place where we said the old tax was 29.5 cents, and we're going to use the old tax to offset the fare loss, we cannot use the new tax, which is roughly 11.5 cents. I don't know, 19 cents.
It's hard to get it to $1.25 for crying out loud.
It's
So
50 cents on $100.
we would just need to be able to say to the voters very clearly, which would mean we have to divide that transit tax fund balance up, track it as two different pots of money, because I cannot use what I told the voters. We told the voters, give us more money and we're going to use it to expand service. I can't now use that expanded funding to
problem
replace
is-
fares.
I don't think you can say what you just said very clearly.
You can't. It's very challenging. Obviously, I had trouble.
Yeah.
But that's what,
So,
so Mountain Line makes recommendation to our board of directors. So we have a board of directors, it's 2 city council members, 1 board of supervisor, representative, the president's office from NAU, and 1 representative from the president's office at CCC. And ultimately, they direct us on what to do. They set policy. We make recommendations, we give them background. So that's what I was trying to tell you. If you go look at staff reports, you'll get an example of how we present things to our board of directors. Ultimately, the decision to use the transit tax to offset fares, that's a city council decision. So it would be Mountain Line's board of directors making a recommendation to the city council. City council is the fiduciary for the transit tax funding. Mountain Line is not a taxing authority. We are not allowed to collect taxes. We are not allowed to take debt. I am a co-op. I take everybody else's money and I spend it really, really well. The only funding that I get directly, well, not the only, I get all of our federal money directly and I get our fares. And I get to make decisions about how those 2 pots are prioritized. But it would be ultimately city council
and the city
that would make that
coming up
decision.
with its own couple of bond measures, might be some jealousy is the wrong word, but
Just
yeah.
I will say to all of you what I have said to everyone that asked me this question. As the CEO and the general manager for Mountain Line, based on my 20 years of experience in the transit industry, I do not believe going fare free is the right solution for our community. There are probably places and time where I might change that recommendation, but I don't see that happening in the next 10 years, which is really what we just renewed the tax for. And that's because I think we have a lot of work to do to make transit competitive with cars. And until you do that, there is one barrier to transit. There's so many others. How many of you live in neighborhoods that you don't have good bike access or pedestrian access to the transit bus stop? I walk 3/4 of a mile down the middle of a street in good, bad weather because there's no street lights, there's no sidewalks, there's no bike paths.
Yeah. Well, I think $3/4 of a mile by my house.
And we're really close, you know.
I do better that.
So I mean, those are the kinds of things that I think we should be spending our money to change. And when we can say we have that 15-minute frequency and we have everyone living within, let's say, 1/4 mile of a bus stop, then you can start to talk about how to change behavior with things like fare free. But I don't think fares are going to equalize when people don't even have access to the bus or they don't have access to frequent service. And like I said, I live north of the hospital. I can walk to my office downtown, or I can stand at a bus stop and wait 30 minutes for the bus. Right? And I think all of us make that decision in this community. We have the benefit of being a small community in that respect. But there's a lot of places we can implement improvements. And if we go fare free, that's $1.4 million that comes out of that bucket of funding to make service improvements. And we would argue that the service improvements is the right focal point for now for our community.
Gotcha.
Well, that's the reason when I was in college, I hitchhiked.
We don't want people.
Any kind of specialized services available, like a parking ride? I mean, I keep thinking people say coming to visit. Do you give them a parking lot out of town and make the bus free from there to the center?
Totally, yeah.
You know, you would have a ridership, you'd probably have sponsors available for something like that. And, you know,
Or get cars out of downtown.
get cars out of downtown, you know, and I know they've talked about raising the parking fee, and I mean, to $2, I'd say go to 10. And,
Yes, yes.
you know, if you really wanted to drive behavior, 'cause it sounds like from what everyone said, you know, these fellows that talked to us is making the fares free just brings more riders on that probably are going to discourage a lot of other riders that might come on otherwise. I mean, we saw this in LA with our daughter. She went to college there and we thought, okay, great, she's right by a train stop and all this. And, we rode it once and said, no, that ain't gonna be the way she gets around. It just wasn't safe.
We're very proud of our partnerships with the school district. I think all of you are aware, we are now transporting our FUSD high school students. They no longer have access to a yellow bus or a traditional bus if they live within the city limits. And the way that
I
we,
didn't know that. That's
Yeah, I know.
wonderful.
Yeah.
It's been big drama.
big drama.
Like, there's no school bus, like.
It's yeah, and that's a common model in large urban communities.
Yeah.
But in order for parents to have that confidence in the school district, being able to tell those parents it's a right decision, is that everybody must feel safe on the vehicle. And I will tell you, safety is perception. It is not really reality. And I get on board with an individual regularly that talks loudly to himself the entire trip. He's not unsafe. He's never threatened anybody, but now put yourself in a 13-year-old shoes where he's unkept, he's unclean, and now he's screaming at the top of, because he does scream, and talks to himself, right? Safety is a perception. And so for us, we're trying to manage that. I want everybody in the community to get on a bus. Every day, I want you all to think the bus is the right way to travel. But I also know that for me to convince you, the community, of that, you have to have access to that service. And right now, we just don't have it. You have to wait 60 minutes for a bus. Imagine the gate on your driveway lets your car leave every 59 minutes, right? That's what a 60-minute frequency bus is. That means you miss that bus by 30 seconds. You have to wait a whole hour. You're probably not going to take that risk. You're going to get in your car and you're going to drive. For a lot of us who live in the downtown area or in the core of the community, same way at 30 minutes. Like 30 minutes, I could be there by now. Why am I waiting for the next bus in 30 minutes? So that's where we believe the funding should be. And I think it is addressing those safety concerns.
You're doing a wonderful job.
Yes.
And I didn't realize you were an authority. That's very interesting.
Yeah, we were,
You just
we
said
are,
there's only 3 in the country. We're one of them.
oh no, so there's different levels of authorities. In Arizona, there are 2 kinds of transit authorities. Valley Metro, or the city of Phoenix, has an RTA, which is a regional transportation authority, probably what Kansas is, and they are allowed to tax. Arizona legislation back in 2005 formulated and allowed small systems, counties, to develop intergovernmental public transportation authorities. And if you've ever seen our legal name, you would recognize this word. But we are not allowed to collect taxes. So we were formed by a relationship between Coconino County and the city of Flagstaff. And at the time, it actually included Yavapai County and the city of Cottonwood. They have now left and they operate their own programs, but that's how we came about.
Yeah, thank you so much for your insights on these and your recommendations. So I'm curious if you made them clear to the city council, and maybe you've made them clear to us as well, so that we could support them, your alternatives, like, maybe top 5 things that maybe are within your space or not, maybe more in the municipal space, that can help switch, from cars to buses and whatnot. Because there's parking's $1, but so was the bus. Might as well drive, So it's like,
Yes.
how do we switch that? It seems like you're really in that mindset. How
So-
to switch the behavior.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We have some other items to
That's what I'm
get
saying, like,
to.
what are the
so,
takeaways that we can take away?
If you could very briefly address that
Yep.
question, and then maybe if you could share email addresses, in a follow-up after the meeting, and we can continue the conversation that way.
If you go to mountainline.az.gov, Prop 488, you will see all the material that we use to educate the public on what we were asking for. We don't advocate, we educate. Our priorities in there are unchanged. More frequent service, better access to service. It has electrification of our fleet in there, which we did not touch on today. Continues to be a measure which supports sustainability. And then we don't talk about going fare free. We don't talk about reducing the fare barrier. So those are the points I would tell you. Those are 3 things that we have focused on. We regularly engage with the city because we know that there's need for there to be transit supportive policies on the city side. That's best I can tell you about our.
Great.
Excellent work. Thank you. All right, well, thank you, everybody. We're gonna now hear about upcoming volunteer opportunities for us as a commission. Per our discussion a few months ago, Diane, will you share those with us?
Okay.
Yes.
So I think a couple meetings ago, we had talked about, or maybe it was our January meeting. As a commission, y'all officially decided not to adopt a stream or a foots trail or anything like that, but to look at kind of organic opportunities for community engagement coming up. So I talked to Blake in our office, who's our stewards program manager, and he basically really just pointed me to Volunteer Flagstaff. So if you haven't been on Volunteer Flagstaff, all of our public community events are scheduled on there. You can register. Yeah, it's on the next slide actually, which I sent out. So you should have access to that link directly. So basically everything I tell you now is going to be on there. So my real recommendation is really like, let's look at Volunteer Flagstaff as a group, maybe when we feel like we're ready to do a group event. But I put up the exact next ones that are on there right now. So most of them, those first three are cleanup events. That third one is in collaboration with NAU, Green Jacks. So that should be a pretty big event. We're providing all the equipment, but that should be a really large community event. That's
Is it gonna be on NAU
Southside.
campus? Is that where it is?
Yes. Oh, well, it's going through.
Southside neighborhood. so
Yeah,
I
Just
think
north
it's
Southside neighborhood?
Yeah.
Murdoch Center.
And then the other thing that I just want to throw out there, we're in the throes of planning for Earth Day. And I've heard that in the past, there's been commissioners who have done a tabling event for the Flagstaff sustainability grants. So I just wanted to throw that out there as an option for an opportunity to volunteer.
You don't have our March of Dreams up there, our Walk of Dreams.
What is it called? Stroke.
Well,
We're not the Discovery
if
Show
you-
up there.
If you note, Vincent's number 8 on
Oh,
the
all right.
agenda.
I should have read
We
through
have
the
an
agenda.
entire
Yeah, I know.
section dedicated to. I've been calling it the Sustainability Showcase. I don't know how attached we are to Discovery
You don't like the March of
Stroll.
Dreams? What's
Really
wrong?
good.
Discovery
At
Stroll,
the
that
market of dreams.
is at the Market of Dreams. Just to be clear, we're not marching. There's no marching involved. Okay, so I just want to throw that out there. We are planning all our tables for Earth Day, so I don't know if we wanted to talk about, it's 11 to 2 p.m. Saturday, April 18th. There is a cleanup with one of our awardees. Dara Marks Marino is organizing a native invasive species poll on the right by Thomas School right before the event. So that would be directly supporting one of our grantees, and also an opportunity to talk about our grant program if anybody's interested.
You want us to tell you right now, if you want to be there on Saturday, like Saturday, April 18th, I'll do that.
11 to 2 is
Actually,
the
that's
full
awesome.
event time.
We have a 2 and 3.
Send out an email after this confirming.
Okay, and the location where it is on the campus.
Yeah.
Your office.
So then the other thing I'll just put forward, again, Volunteer Flagstaff has the list of these for the entire year, like out events all the way out through the summer. And then the other thing is we do send out volunteer opportunities on a monthly basis via our newsletter. So if you get our newsletter, which I hope everybody does, they're also in there, and that will take you directly to Volunteer Flagstaff.
And will you give us points if we go and do these things?
So
We
many
are
points.
names there with those points on the
Yeah.
end. Okay.
Unlimited high fives. Give me
Stars.
I said we volunteered the new guys that aren't here yet.
By the way, welcome to the Commission Network. Every year we volunteer. You're up.
Kristen volunteered for all this stuff.
Amazing appreciation.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe at our next meeting, we can put 5 minutes on the agenda to just talk about our next organized
Great.
effort.
Earth Day.
Landfill and steal bicycles.
Okay, Earth Day will be before our next in-person meeting. So if you are interested in Earth Day specifically, I heard the two of you, but I'll reach out to everyone to confirm.
We're not having a March meeting.
No, we're having
Our
March.
March meeting is our Sustainability Showcase.
It's the March of Dreams.
Oh,
On
that's
the
right.
March, it's the March.
Oh, March of
Dreams. Dream March.
Yeah.
Diane, you've got the next couple items, so I'll just let you
Keep rolling.
go through that monthly division report and then go right into the showcase planning.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll just highlight a couple quick things that are relevant here. So again, the monthly report is available on the website at all times. So, we always lag a month behind. I summarize it kind of at the end of each month, but this is up on our website. Our main highlight of this month was launching the AU library, which Genevieve was here presenting on in our January meeting. So that's up. One thing that's always cool to look at is the NEV side of our sustainability office engaged with 655 volunteers in January, which is always a lovely.
And they were all wearing
stat.
green. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that was the Great Pine Cone drop cleanup. It was rainy and we still had a bunch of folks show up, so that was great.
On January 1st, that's amazing.
Yeah. And then just like very quick stats. We're reaching about 10,000 people on every social media post, which is pretty great for a local sustainability office. Yeah.
We're not boring at all.
Yeah.
To get 10,000 people, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Very quick high level overview, but again, this is always a standing document on our website. I'm gonna hop over to our showcase planning. Okay, so we are set, date, time, confirmed location for our showcase. It's gonna be at the Market of Dreams, 4:30 to 6:30.
Did you have an opportunity to check out the space?
I'm going tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I have not been there. I'll be there. Yeah,
We did it there last year.
and I worked with the rotations, right?
It was perfect.
And
You organized,
everything.
whoever
Yeah.
organized it did a great job. Was it Tia that did
Yeah.
that?
Oh, well,
And a working group of.
Yeah,
The
and Jenna, and others.
They did a great job.
Working group.
Yeah. And several commissioners, right?
That's the
Yes,
working
that's who Jen was, not
Yeah,
herself,
not
by
me.
the way, she
No.
wasn't
I think
on
I
the
was on that one.
So it's gonna run essentially the same general flow as last year. So from 4:30 to about 20 minutes, it'll just be meet and greet. There will be food. We'll get kind of everyone set up. All the awardees have been told to be there by 4:15. As of right now, we have 9 of the 11 confirmed, which is pretty good. Yeah. There's a few folks who have to send alternatives other than their lead kind of implementer, but someone will be there to represent their project. Fala, their garden, and then I can't remember the other person that can't be there. I can't remember the other project.
The spring break, so I think.
It's not spring break, which is good. It's not NAU or FUSD spring break. But yeah, so 2 folks can't be there and can't send alternatives, but that's all right. So yeah, it's gonna work about the same. We're gonna have just a welcome. Amy's gonna do kind of our welcome and a history of the grant overview. I'm gonna be running the logistics and announcements. We'll have a sound system. Say, I think last year you had one, the city has some we can use.
Did a live band too.
Oh, wow. Was it?
Did we?
Yeah,
Have you got the band live?
that actually wasn't on the agenda from last year, so didn't make it in here. Yeah, we will have food. And on the next slide, I have very specific asks of volunteers. So I'm hoping we can kind of solidify some
Ask
roles here. But yeah, so I will have a clock that'll be kind of like running, that'll like announce the next round. I will also be on the speaker telling people to rotate, but we'll split in 2 groups. There will be 5 and 4 stations, and we'll split when folks walk in on their name tags. We're gonna give them a table number so they'll know which table to start at, and we'll just rotate. So we'll say, hey, thank you for being here. When the rounds start, you go to table 1, you go to table 3, you go to table 5, whatever it's gonna be. And then we're gonna do 5 minutes per station. I've been telling awardees to basically put together a 2-minute high-level spiel, and then prepare to have about 3 minutes of questions. I've also made just very high-level impact summaries that will sit at each table.
You tell them they need to give out free food to everybody too.
I did not. So for example, like this is the one, for the
Yeah.
pool library for Cocoa Op. So it's very just like, here's some pictures, here's some impact statements of the project. So I'm making one of these for each table and a QR codes if they want to like,
You're making a poster like this for each table?
am.
You're doing a wonderful, that's a great idea. That's a
Thank you.
wonderful thing to do. Good for you.
Yeah, so really quick, high level, so people can have something
Yeah.
to look at. And then I've told each member to bring, if they want to, they can bring something to the table. So I was like, if you want to bring a tool or,
Yeah.
you know, something fun. But yeah, so for the most part, those will just be really quick lightning round presentations. And that will take us right about an hour with about a minute of transition time. And then we'll have 20 minutes at the end again for networking and conversations. Yeah.
I realize I haven't been raising my hand. I apologize. Well, one of the issues that we struggled with last year was the arrow confusion. Were you supposed to go this way? Were you supposed to go that way? Just to give you a heads up. So that,
I have table numbers.
well, they all had table numbers.
Okay.
And these big arrows on the wall. You're supposed to go this way. And people were like going, which way am I supposed to go? Where's? So
That's
I don't know,
good to know.
maybe little cards that say, here, you're in group 5. You're in the group 5, go to 1, 2, and 6, and 7, and you go to
Yeah.
whatever.
So my plan is on the name tag. So when people sign in, I'm going to give them their starting table number.
Okay.
And then I'll just say you go
The next table.
increasing order to the next. So if you start at 1, go to, well, it'll be odd. So go to 3. At 3, go to 5. So I hope that's mitigated, but that's a good note.
It's just one of the things. Remember, everybody kept going, I don't know.
Yeah, there was directions and arrows didn't align.
Okay.
Yeah, it did.
I wasn't planning on having arrows. So
Well, then don't,
I'll
that'll solve the problem. Don't worry.
Okay.
It
Great.
didn't help that I didn't see the arrows posted on the wall until after I gave everybody directions and told them to go the other way.
Oh, that's.
So,
Okay,
you
so
know,
that's it.
we learned a lot
Yeah.
last year. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, no arrows is a
Yeah,
good idea.
Commissioner Conkel, yeah.
This is like an open invitation for community members, right?
Yes, yes. I will be sending out, yeah, so I will be sending out, so I've sent the invitation formally to all of this year's recipients. So everybody who we just awarded, all of last year's, obviously, and then this group, and then as well as our council and mayor and vice mayor. I'm putting together an email invitation for like the general public and social media posts. So I can forward that to the commission, then you can.
Will there be an
Yeah.
RSVP link for you to know how many people are
Yeah.
planning on coming?
There is.
Okay.
Notes from Tia last year said the RSVP did not align with the number of attendees, but yeah, I did make an RSVP link.
One of the concerns last year with inviting people was that we do have a small space. And so we intentionally did not blast a whole lot of
Okay.
social media, and it was a pretty decent crowd.
There's about
So
40 people last year, is that right?
it felt like a good number for the space.
Okay,
So I don't know how many people were there last year. That would be, I trust whatever Tia said, but just something to keep in mind
Okay.
with planning.
okay. So maybe I won't put it on social
Like
media.
it's
If we
good to
invite all
advertise it.
10,000.
We want people to come. We
Yeah.
want to showcase
Yeah.
the work that our community members are doing with these grants, but
Okay.
Maybe
it
reach
is
out
a small space.
Yeah, specific reach out or targeted.
Well, and to the people that applied but didn't get it as well,
Yeah.
maybe, so they can get a sense of who did win and what it took, and, because maybe some of those.
That's, you're right. I think that's a good, I was gonna suggest that, and then maybe not so much, a lot of the space was taken up for food, et cetera. I mean, like that whole one section was a lot of snacking things, and really it's all about this issue, so maybe put it in different ways. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be doing the space planning tomorrow, so I can try and get that.
Put it on the sidewalk outside the door. Here's your snack. Go inside. Here's your goodie bag.
We'll have that English writer syndrome.
Okay, so I do have a couple asks that I would like to right now narrow down who will be completing the task.
Okay.
So one ask, I need one person to do the Sam's Club food pickup at 3 o'clock that day. And if nobody from this group volunteers, I'll just bug all of our staff members, or mostly Jenna. Okay. Perfect. I should probably put- Okay. I'm sort of assuming most folks can be there to help for setup around 3:30. If you can't, that's okay, but that, I'm not gonna put specific names. I'll just reach out to all of us that we could be there at 3:30 to help me put up tables and signs and all the plaques and set up the
And then
food and all
if
that
there's
stuff.
extra people, we can help the check-in table and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, perfect. So I am hoping for 2 people, the check-in table, the sort of like, let me get your email, let me help you write a name tag and make sure that I'll explain it all, but that the number system of like getting assigned tables happens. So like, we're not putting everybody at one table. It will be a little bit more complex of a system, but not more than just like blankly setting up tables, but
You have to be an engineer.
you don't have to be an engineer. I'm an
So the
engineer
check-in
making the
table-
system usable for the
And
end
check-in
user.
check-in table isn't just, welcome to our event,
No.
here's your thing. You
No.
really want some consistent.
I have a
details.
system and I'm gonna
And
need
they probably have to
people
have
who
nice
can follow
handwriting too,
directions.
which is
Your handwriting
Have
can
them throw it
be,
all year.
Bad
we could have each person write their own, but yeah.
I can
think about that. Great, Amy and Roger, great, lovely.
I'll come help set up.
Yeah,
And the event starts at 4:30.
Oh.
Right, or it's
yeah, it starts at 4:30.
Okay.
You're gonna be announcing everything at 4:30, that's what
Well,
you're
no,
asking.
no, I think I won't be announcing until we're gonna let people
4:50.
mingle for a while, so
Yeah.
that should be fine.
Okay.
Were most folks on time around 4:30 last time, or did you have people coming in and out?
I don't
It
think
seemed like
they
everybody
were-
got there pretty much on time.
Great,
I think there was like a 10 to 15 minute trickle in.
That's a lot.
There's always that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
people late.
okay, all right, that's good to know. So maybe Roger can stay at the check-in table and Amy, we can get you set up to start it now. Cool.
Define
Okay.
monitor food tables.
So this was my other question. Did we just set up all the food last time and then just like called that good?
No, there were people standing behind tables. They were kind of assisting. when people-
Monitoring?
Are you calm?
Assisting.
Not like monitoring how much to get on the plate, but you know,
I
bringing.
mean, they were all standing, they were just like little people, little standing.
Yeah.
There was somebody back there making sure that
Okay.
they dropped something and got cleaned up. Yeah, I'll do the monitoring.
Okay.
You did have to limit cookies after a while.
I thought you meant go around to the tables where people are meeting and saying, you've got too much food.
No,
Or.
no. I meant the
No, you're
stationing.
good.
I meant, well, how can I?
Talking about the
That's
food.
good.
present.
Yeah,
But
okay, I understand. Monitor
monitoring
was
the
not the,
Replenish.
They're
monitor was
monitoring
not the
buffet.
right. No, I'm writing that. I'm just gonna put this table. Okay, anybody else wanna help supervise? Anybody else wanna help Mary?
Get some of one of the new people can do it. Write it down.
Okay, or we could just have a staff member too. There will be a
That's not a big deal.
sustainability staff. And then my other question was how we are gonna bring our, reusable plates and silverware and cups and all that good stuff. Making sure once empty plates are done, they're getting them to a clean bucket, that kind of thing. Did anybody do that last year, or we just kind of have like honor system?
We
trust
reorganized after
adults
people
to-
screwed up. We go in and say, well, that doesn't go in there, that goes over there. So they were still.
I know that-
I could repeating things.
Was that all afterwards? Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask
I don't know.
Sam's Club now has compostable plates and compostable things.
Maybe that's what we did. I don't feel like we used
You
reusable.
have some.
Like we did. Actually, I do know where there's a composter tank too. You can do that since you're.
Better than
picking up
our
plates, you can take them to the composter.
That's what you're worried about.
Cycle.
I think
You
we
could
signed
be
up for
cy-
that.
You could be cycling. No, I'm doing the.
You know?
Okay. Okay, so maybe I won't be as worried about this. This can be.
This is gonna wash the real plates if they go in a
You
plate.
can sign me
I
up
would
for a
work
clean
too.
up. I cannot be there until 4:30.
Okay, great. So I think these last 2 things, both just like monitoring the space and then helping clean up afterwards. My ask is that we all kind of.
The reason you use compostable plates is it goes into the garbage and if it goes out to the landfill, it composts in the landfill. It's not necessarily something that goes to a composting site. But my point would still be, what's your budget? Do you want to get some of those recyclable cups? I use them. They're the metal ones,
I think we
that are-
have some,
I
yeah.
use those
We already
when I
have some.
have parties and those are it's a good message sending too, because it says in it recycle.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing.
I think we've got some.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, those are my concrete asks, but I also, this is gonna be my first event. So is there anything that I missed that others noted from last year that I'm forgetting or missing?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's the logic behind the venue?
Community space.
It was free, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It seems like this, these things always suffer from their own success. You're gonna grow, maybe next year, think about a larger space.
I think it was an established partnership kind of thing, but yeah, that's a good question.
Just
You know,
first year we found it.
The warehouse area with sustainability might be a good place to put it, where you have all your trucks and things. It's big and spacious, a lot of good parking.
So this is a resilience, right?
Maybe go to my
Are
first
there
shops
other
there.
resilience hubs that are larger? Because it's a great way to showcase.
The Murdoch
Resilience.
Center is the other one. Spatially, Murdoch
Yes.
Center's
Not very
slightly
big there.
bigger, I think,
Not very big.
but
They also,
no.
they also got more expensive. I don't know if they would donate it, but they used to be pretty cheap and now they're.
But, you know, there's city
I'm not sure
properties
it's bigger
too.
than the Walk of Dreams, actually. I
Well,
think
what's
Do you have any
the place on the
suggestions?
bill? The
maybe the
Think tank
sustainability
or-
department at
Oh,
NAU.
yeah, the.
Ah, now we're talking.
Maybe the
Shop.
sustainability
Yeah,
department.
Gemini.
That are very sustainable.
Anyway, this is probably a
Wait, let me
conversation for next year, but.
Yeah. I mean, it is not
I would
actually
think
too late
there's
to
other-
change the venue.
Did
This
you
might
hear
be
me
a
point to
discussion.
sustainability?
I did, I
department?
was,
He said they have lots of spaces.
Because we co-sponsor anything, we actually figure this out for events.
Really?
Yeah, so
That's
we
amazing.
co-sponsor something, it's like $50 and we can put you in our platinum sustainable international pavilion, which is a huge, 400 people in there, if you want a smaller.
it's not,
International Pavilion is a beautiful space.
I am not attached to the Market of Dreams.
I'm not either, because I keep calling it something else.
And it's actually not too late to change
And then you
anything,
can market it with your 10,000 views.
is it? I
I'd
mean,
like to know more about
Score.
the sponsor.
So we have to pay
$50. We paid like
$50
$600 to rent the
Take it off.
International Pavilion for 2 hours.
Wow.
In University by.
can I follow up with you directly afterwards?
Or
I think if
that's
it
another
turns
idea
out-
Is, the Public Works facility has a nice large space. Also the Aquaplex. I don't know, so there's other
Venues.
several city properties that can be explored.
Yeah, last year, part of the
Touch base
reason for selecting the Market of Dreams was they were just like opening and it was a really
Yeah.
great way to just draw attention.
Help them
to it.
and
One other thing with an NAU venue is parking is a nightmare for non-NAU people to have to figure out and navigate and pay for
Just
Bill's
said they
garage.
would, he said they provide help with you.
Parking.
We have a new for events, if the event parking is wrapped into events now, and so we're just rolling this out, but it's been we want the community to use, sorry for
That's
talking.
fantastic.
That is great.
Because we have a lot of spaces on campus and because of budgetary constraints, we want to have those in use all the time, so.
That's great.
Parking, we know, is a huge thing that
Yeah.
pushes people away, so you will see some changes in how events get booked on campus now, so it's gonna improve. We want more people on campus.
And Peter,
Volunteer for the symphony.
the NEU Sustainable Communities Program was one of our awardees this year for the McAllister Ranch project. With Peter, yeah. So it'd be lovely to, yeah,
Okay, so
that's great.
if you are comfortable as like the key staff planner for this, if you're comfortable switching things up, I
Yeah.
think that's great,
Okay.
but just keep in mind, we could also just do that next year.
Yeah, let me follow up with Market of Dreams tomorrow. They have an understanding that I've booked the space, so let me just go through that and talk with them tomorrow and follow through on that piece, and I'll coordinate with you. But I think, yeah, if we had 40 people last year and now it's a known event, and we'd like to broadcast it larger, which I would like to, I do think a venue change would be, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, okay, great.
And on theme, maybe wherever we decide, make sure to market how it can there be a transit,
Oh,
alternate
love
ways.
it.
Yeah. Rather than,
For $1.25.
I know parking's a thing, but rather than just focusing on, there's lots of parking.
Yeah, that's great.
We've actually been trying to work with Mountain Line to get some of our key locations, a
Yeah.
quick thing, a link that people just go onto Mountain Line and know exactly how to get places.
It's great.
Okay. It for me.
Thank you. Okay, guys, we're down to and from. Does anybody have any announcements they'd like to make? Eric?
I just wanted This is, I think I've never come to a commission, oh, that's not, many years ago I did, but one thing that's new at NAU is the acts of service, and I'm not sure if you guys are all plugged into that, but for any community sustainability thing, NAU, every employee can do 16 hours of volunteer service in the community, and it goes through the acts of service website at the Center for Service and Volunteerism. So any weed holes, anything the city is doing, I don't know if you guys are on acts of service, but
I think we,
if you get on there, then people can tag it and say, that's something I'm interested in. And then every time there's an event with that organization, Office of Sustainability, whatever, you get an email. So we're really trying to drive that to people, staff at the university, getting off the university, contributing to the community. The president is incentivizing that. So I just wanted to raise that when you're talking about volunteer opportunities. Yeah. Well, and then the second real quick announcement is just to the point of the discussion today, and the reason I'm here is we think there's an opportunity for fare free, and Heather and I talked about this, fare free for NAU students, and they kind of alluded to it. We have an eco pass, but that's for staff. Students can ride the 10 for free, but they can't ride anywhere else for free. And we're trying to really push first year students not to bring a car to Flagstaff. But if we don't have the carrots, we can tell them all the reasons why not to bring a car, but they will bring a car. We think if we can say you can ride for free, we have the mobile pass that all the students have, so it's super easy for them to do it. But I don't think it would cost Mountain Line anything more, but we get more people on the thing, which then you get the perception of safety, because they're not unhoused people. They're a bunch of college students who are trying to get to work out at the mall or whatever. So anyway, Heather and I will keep kind of talking about that. Even in our budgetary thing, we still contribute, I think, $650,000 a year for that Route 10 service and for our Eco Pass, which is very poorly utilized by staff at the university. So we have 50 riders or something. We're paying $600,000, but I mean, who use it to get all around town. But it's mainly that Route 10 that's moving hundreds of thousands of people.
Just different campus.
It just goes from downtown through campus and then up behind Dasha's, all that.
Woodlands
Village up there. Yeah. So it literally is kind of harvesting students and bringing them to campus, taking them downtown.
Like a school bus.
It's like a school bus line. Yeah.
But no, the buses on NAU campus though are your own buses. They're not connected to this line, are they?
Yeah.
Sounds like children of the corn.
I think on this note, since we still have a couple more minutes, that I'd love to end with some takeaways from this, whether if we're not pushing for fair, maybe it's fair for students and the other things that we can, advocate to the city council to say, okay, well, Heather doesn't recommend this, but these are again, those top 5 things. Especially because looking back at the carbon neutrality plan, 30% of Flagstaff's carbon emissions are from transportation, probably mostly cars. And so I think we need to make sure that we stay focused on the reason we brought up fair food. So yeah, kind of curious on your thoughts on that. Maybe we see what Heather had recommended and the policy things too.
Yeah, she's gonna follow up and share some of that. And I think that, it might be something to revisit in another couple months or regularly, kind of have a check-in. I think that another thing that Fare Free NAU, if you expanded to all of NAU, that might accomplish a bit of ridership up, which it all seems to go hand in hand. To increase routes and get more buses on the road, you have to have the ridership numbers. And so it could be really helpful with that transitional stepping stone. So
totally. Yeah, I think that's a big component for sure. But I don't know, probably the majority of you all drove here today, right? So there's a reason people are still driving for their main mode of transit. And I don't know, is it convenience? Is it cost? Like my partner and I drive to downtown, it can sometimes effectively be free. We're not paying to, raise and lower that gate. We don't have to wait 30 minutes. So, I don't know. I think it's part of our responsibility to push that forward with cities planning. So,
Like Fair Free Fridays, like what about just picking a day?
oh, I like that.
Versus Fair Free for NAU, which might not bode well with the
Yeah.
people of Flagstaff that aren't at NAU.
And match up with Friday events and stuff.
Match up with Friday events, or trial it for First Friday downtown, Fair Free First Friday.
Yeah.
How many F's can you?
I know, that's what I.
First
And that did happen a year ago with the art walk and.
With a Fair Free bus day?
Yeah, Dre was able to get
Yeah.
a grant and worked with Mountain Line to get it fair free.
But if they wanted to pilot it with no real risk of like having to backtrack
Yeah.
and worry about taking it away, having it be Fair Free Friday or for summer, right?
Yeah.
Friday for summer,
Like 6 months.
just a little,
Nice.
and then you could see what is the increase in ridership
Yeah.
without confounding changes of the services.
I like it.
Collect proper data. Jordan was like, we don't have any data. We have literally no data. I was like, who is your person?
Downtown Business Association contribute to Mountain Line or not, but like if they were the first Friday,
Yeah.
Events.
Totally.
They said, we will put in $1,000 a Friday or something like, it could be a token, right? But
I don't do that. They don't have much money.
Well, and it depends, and where the bus drop off at, the bus center is right there by the parking area.
Yeah.
Perfect place.
There's, and I think the other, my perception, we're thinking about this a lot. It's a big part, not a big part of our carbon footprint directly, but our scope 3, right? Is our commuters. I want to get like down 5% of students, because once they get here and they learn how to ride the bus, then they probably won't get cars. So congestion, overall carbon emissions in the city, I think we have a real obligation to do that. But, there could be a lot more partners, like with development agreements, like with the HOAs in town, like, I don't know, corporate, Gore, Purina, et cetera. I don't know where they are in terms of contributing to this, but I'd hope we could find a model, because people hate the congestion. Like, forget about
Yes.
the climate stuff. It's Milton
Traffic.
and a mess, right?
Yeah, that's-
And so,
It's either that or bed bugs.
Well, I think that's the point of your notion of the card. I mean, if you can get the university students that access to get on the bus, et cetera, then it doesn't spread over into other areas that could cause the bus people problems. Isn't that what you're saying? You're talking about free riding for the students.
we would like the students to not only use the 10, but if they live out at country
Right.
club, if they live
have
out,
free
that they can go
anywhere in the
anywhere in
city.
town. They can go to
Anywhere,
work at the mall. And it's on an app right now. It's super easy for any staff person. We just get it. We don't use it. Not very many people get it. We advertise the heck out of it, and not too many people use it, but I think students would, and that's the difference. Like, we can shape that generation.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
When your parents and kids, it's a different story. Like, how do you get to daycare? You can't. That's true. It's not gonna do that.
We have one, I know we have one item left, and I know we have a request for a future agenda item, but I would like to say that, in honor of not losing track of this, if it's something like maybe we want to put together a working group like a very light working group to kind of have a few people that are dedicated to bringing updates or maybe collaborating with NAU, that's something we could also put on a future agenda item to, take 15 more minutes to discuss this as a group and put together a plan in a working group.
And is the best method to when we compile up our suggestions or whatever, is the best thing to send that over to Austin or Councilman Allen or yeah, my bad. Or is it to city council? I still don't know that full method on that. The best method.
Yeah, that's what we were mentioning,
Yeah.
the organizational
What is it?
structure of the bus line isn't a city council function. they have two members on their board.
For sure, but
It's
there's
not.
municipal things
They're
that,
not controlled by the city council.
So I think the first thing to think about is like partnerships and voices, like maybe like building a little coalition, like maybe NAU and Sustainability Commission. We're interested in this. We want to move it forward. We respect Heather's opinion and data, and I love the work they're doing. And so maybe, I think that it would be like community advocates working with Mountain Line. So I think just figuring out like stakeholders and starting with conversations, right? And then, through that process, we figure out. And I think you're right, Commissioner Metzger, that it's the board, the NIMTA, right? That Mountain Line has to answer to ultimately. So, future agenda item requests, let's make that one of them to just talk a little bit, like dedicate 10 or 15 minutes to talking about our plan of action here so that it doesn't just get lost. Yeah, I appreciate that. I agree. And are there any other future agenda? Oh, yes.
For your future agendas without me.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks a bunch.
If you ever come up with anything that my students could
Yes.
potentially be involved in, a project or an opportunity, let me know.
Great. Thank you.
Whole agenda item.
Everything we do is relevant to your students, so.
The bicycle thing that you're.
Bunch of safety
Yes.
meetings happen.
Yes.
Now,
The
I
floor
already
is
tried to
yours.
get a handful
I
to come to
I think
Earth Day.
I think my students are coming to Earth Day.
Sounds like they
We
are.
have
I always
one
get a letter.
after
After
your
time with my
agenda
project.
request.
Trying to court.
Go ahead.
So bicycles going to the dump, I find is a sad occurrence, and there should be some way to, halt it at the gate and have them contact people to come pick them up, or allow scavenging, but that could be a real problem. But I think the people that we've talked to at the landfill, they say our hands are tied as the city council. It doesn't allow us to have somebody come and pick bicycles out of the metal scrap.
Just for context, Roger is part of CATS and he's also a neighborhood sustainability or Flagstaff sustainability grant winner that got a welding machine to build bike racks and what else? Bike trailers out of old bike wheels.
Yes.
And so he's always looking for old bikes for that program. And
Yeah, and then those that can't be repaired, then we either take them to metal recycling.
Go to the landfill.
I don't really frequent the landfill all that often, but when I do go there, then I notice there's lots of bikes in the metal recycling pile. Along with the refrigerators and the.
It might be something that just a member of the community go to a city council meeting and do a 3-minute speech to them.
Yeah,
And already
exactly.
done
That's probably what I need to do.
Yeah. That's how we got future planning moved to Parks and Rec.
Out of curiosity, do you partner with NAU for any of their like end of the semester yard sale?
Yeah, get rid of
Yeah.
the bikes.
That,
that they're-
yeah,
Yeah.
there's hundreds left on
Exactly.
campus. Registered.
Bicycles.
so do you want that as a future agenda item or do you want to go to council?
I think we'll just go to council. I'm not really sure how it works at council. Stand up and vote.
Yep.
But you
Public
leave on a card
comment.
and it goes to them and you get 3 minutes to send it, tell them and they can't respond. It's like the open meeting.
Okay.
You can't respond, but they will get the information.
But you get up to 3 minutes.
Oh, good.
Just show up at the beginning of the meeting and get it right.
You can follow up with an email as well.
Peggy knows. Peggy knows.
Yeah.
That's true.
I've seen her. I've seen her at the council meetings. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. The meeting is adjourned.